Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight there is a resurgence of calls for South African President Jacob Zuma to quit in the wake of last week's cabinet reshuffle. The replacement of the finance minister has seen confidence in the country's economy plummet. Also, hundreds have become thousands. The number of South Sudanese refugees heading into Uganda sees a huge uptick as government forces reportedly kill civilians indiscriminately in the border town of Pajok. Juba denies the slaughter. And creative vision, not violence. People living in the troubled Tunisian region of Kasserine turned to theatre in a bid to show a different side to their community. They've long suffered terror attacks and clashes between soldiers and extremists. But first, we turn to South Africa, where the fallout from President Jacob Zuma's cabinet reshuffle last week continues to gather pace. That move cost the country one of its credit ratings and undermined Zuma's authority within his own party over fears that he's playing fast and loose with the country's economy. Laurent Berstecker has the latest.
Ramping up the pressure. South Africa's biggest trade union and traditional ANC ally called for Jacob Zuma's resignation on Tuesday amid growing backlash against the president.
The time has arrived for Jacob Zuma to step down. We no longer believe in his leadership abilities.
The call came moments after Zuma defended his decision to sack the country's respected finance minister last week. The president also urged South Africans to stay calm after Standard & Poor's downgraded the country's rating to junk status on Monday. Newly appointed finance minister and Zuma loyalist Malusi Gigaba also reacted to the downgrade.
Despite our current challenges, now is not a time for despondency. We have many strengths that we can leverage to grow our economy inclusively.
Yet analysts warn the downgrade represents a serious setback for South Africa's already struggling economy.
This is destroying business confidence even further, which will mean less investment in new activities and projects and less opportunity to create jobs, which also impacts negatively on the man in the street.
Jacob Zuma announced last week he would remove Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan, a man widely praised for his expertise and integrity, along with 9 other ministers. The shuffle sparked a political crisis as several top ANC officials publicly criticized the move. Opposition groups, including the Democratic Alliance Party, also called for demonstrations and are now pushing for a vote of no confidence against the president. Zuma has survived many such tests in the past, but infighting within the ANC could change the equation. Yet analysts say he's unlikely to be ousted, as he retains significant support within his party, which commands a strong majority in parliament.
Tuesday marked the final day of campaigning for Gambia's first major election since the longtime leader, Yahya Jammeh, lost the presidential race back in December. Adama Barrow is now running the country, and voters will be choosing their members of parliament on Thursday. Now, it's a big step, as during Jammeh's 22-year rule, the assembly had little credibility. Duncan Woodside tells us more.
There's a relaxed atmosphere here in Banjul, the capital of Gambia, ahead of Thursday's parliamentary election. I'm here at a rally of the United Democratic Party. That's the party of the new president, Adama Barrow. Also contesting is the APRC. That's the party of the former president, Yahya Jammeh, who is, of course, now in exile in Equatorial Guinea. Now, there are a total of 9 parties contesting these elections, 7 of which were part of the coalition that brought the new president to power. However, that coalition has now broken down into its constituent parts, and those 7 parties will be contesting separately, which opens up the possibility of quite a fragmented legislature after the elections, with potentially no one party able to take a majority. We expect the results to come in sometime during Thursday evening.
Duncan Woodside there for us. Now, more than 3,000 South Sudanese fled into Uganda on Tuesday after government soldiers attacked the border town of Pajok. Witnesses say that SPLA forces launched a 3-pronged assault early on Monday, blocking exit from Pajok and killing civilians indiscriminately. It's not clear how many died The South Sudanese army says it was only targeting guerrilla fighters. Now, there are fears that the country's 3-year civil war could lead to genocide. In South Sudan itself, it's become almost impossible for journalists to do their job. So refugees often become the voice of the war. Grania Harrington and Thais Brook sent us this report from neighbouring Uganda just before the resurgence in violence prompted an uptick in refugees.
They walk for days in the punishing heat. At the end of the road lies Uganda and the hope of some security. In a steady stream, hundreds cross here each day. Angelina and her sister travelled for a month to get here.
Our journey wasn't easy, especially with our kids. We had to stop. Sometimes we were staying 2 or 3 days to rest under a tree.
Opened in August last year, Bidi Bidi has since become the largest refugee settlement in the world, with more than 270,000 inhabitants. Now, refugees are being sent to the newly opened Mvepi settlement. With famine hitting parts of South Sudan, health checks are vital for new arrivals, particularly young children.
But for them, once they start starving, they will have diarrhea, and diarrhea kills a person in no minute. Yeah.
As those who've just arrived receive a hot meal, there's a scramble to be first in line.
This is 6 days, we don't have anything at the road. We are suffering totally.
This will be Betty's new home. She's lucky to have made it. Both her uncle and her brother were killed by government soldiers on the road to Uganda.
The cutting, even those who dead body, some people can see dead body on the way. It's just she's using panga and she's cutting. This place is all just like that.
The refugees here are escaping one of the worst humanitarian disasters in the world. Human rights organisations accuse government forces of ethnic cleansing and deliberate starvation of civilians. For thousands like Betty, the dangerous journey to shelter in Uganda remains the best option for survival.
Well, the deprived Tunisian region of Kasserine borders Algeria and often sees fatal clashes between jihadists and security forces. Those who live there are trying to show a different side to their home by turning the spotlight away from terror and on to theatre. Our correspondents report.
It's time for laughter in the small village of Lafrache in southern Kasserine. Bilal Alwi's travelling theatre has fans across many schools in the countryside of this deprived region. Their goal is to bring the joy of theatre to rural communities.
We go where there's no theatre, no cultural events, nothing. We sometimes see children who don't know what chocolate is and who don't recognise the mascots and puppets we use.
As the volunteer actors head for the next village in their old truck, we go further up to the mountains, where another project is blossoming. We're here on the southern side of Mount Semema, just a few hundred meters away from the closed military zone. Since 2013, these mountains have been a rear base for dozens of jihadists, but now the people of the region have decided to reconquer their territory through culture. And today, in this amphitheater they dug with their own hands, is the day of their big show.
Our mountain scares people. No one ever comes here, only the army. With this event, we want to show that there's nothing to fear, that people can live here.
Adnan Haleli started the project. The artist and French teacher had the idea of turning attention away from mines and explosions and towards local culture. He even transformed a hen house into a film club.
Culture is here. It's fighting the terrorists bravely, without weapons, only with sticks and through culture, education, faith, and the love of others. We can't fight this cancer not only with bombs.
The venture aims for more than a one-off. In the hopes of boosting the influence and reach of the arts in the remote region, the association started working on setting up a cultural centre for the highlanders of Kasserine.
Oh, they seem like such nice guys. Well, that is the way we have to leave it for Eye on Africa for now. Thanks very much for joining us. Do so again if you can. Take care.